Welcome to the Experience Strategy Podcast. I'm Aranza Savas. I'm here with Dave Norton, an experience futurist, and Joe Pine, author of The Experience Economy, The Transformation Economy, and all your other favorite books on experiences. We're so glad to be here with you today. We were just chatting about healthcare experiences and how far they've really come over the last decade. I mean, not to toot our own horns, but largely because we've been working in that category so much. And
Absolutely.
I mean, but also
Take
that's
credit.
exactly why. And, I think we've really seen some important shifts in healthcare experience strategy. It wasn't on the table before, right? Like all anybody was paying attention to was dollars. They were paying attention to insurers. They were paying attention maybe to some provider experience questions. But largely when we made the shift from general practitioners and family physicians who really ruled the roost for generations and managed the vast majority of patient care, and therefore were a part of a community with their patients, and who largely, I think, understood the importance of patient experience, hopefully in most cases. As these things started to become broader, more institutionalized, more corporatized, so much of that was lost. And as I said, Dave, Joe, and I have had the privilege of working with many of the leaders in this industry and really helping them build true, meaningful experience strategies. And it's something hopefully we're all benefiting from in our own lives. But I also think it's something we can learn from as experienced strategists in any category. And this was on my mind because I recently had a little procedure done at Memorial Sloan Kettering. And I was really moved by their awareness of my patient needs. And it was everything from the expedited results. I was booked for a debrief with the doctor before the procedure was even planned, right? So we scheduled it and at the same time scheduled the debrief so that there wasn't that ambiguity, right? Because we all know that it's that ambiguity between test and result that makes us all really anxious. Another really delightful thing was it was a procedure that could be kind of unsettling and uncomfortable. And there was a nurse who literally stood with one hand on the back of my hand during the procedure and another hand on the back of my shoulder, petting me. Her job was to provide comfort. That was it. I could cry thinking about how beautiful it was. And it really did influence my perception of this company. And so I think that's the power of experience strategy in so many ways. And so really curious to hear from you guys what you're seeing trending in healthcare experience strategy that we should all be listening to and learning from, but also some of what you're seeing that's really working or maybe is out on the horizon as a big watch out in healthcare experience strategy. Dave, I know you primarily have focused a lot of your energy and attention in this category. So let's start with you.
I would have to say that healthcare is starting to recover. You think about what 2020, 2019, 2020, 2021 did to the category. People were burned out. They couldn't have, hospital systems were maxed. Yes, the government helped to make sure that a lot of these systems were able to survive, but it has not been fun to be in healthcare for a good 5 years. But now what we're seeing is a lot of investment. There's a lot of money that is headed towards healthcare again, and companies are starting to recognize that they can get the right balance between some new technologies and the human touch. And there's some, you just think about what a doctor's life is about: taking notes, going back afterwards, writing up the notes. You think about what AI can do for them to make it so that they don't have to spend time doing that type of work anymore. You think about some of the great new LLMs that are being created for scientific discovery to support um, different treatments. There's just a lot of good things from a technology standpoint and from a human standpoint that's going to happen over the next 5 years. And thank heavens, because the people, good people that are doing this type of work, they deserve it.
Mm-hmm.
They've been worked really hard for a long time. Talk about a category where, you have to show up every 15 minutes as in a different situation and be on top of it.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy, and it's not 15 minutes; it's 7 minutes. Like for some of for some of these practitioners, it's like every 7 minutes you have to be on every day, night on call at night as well, and on weekends. And I just hope that where we're headed to is a place of greater balance for the providers as well as for the people who need these services, like myself, like you, like
Yeah.
Joe.
Like every
Like me.
human, probably.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
I agree. What are you
yeah.
seeing, Joe?
Well, one of the big things that is happening, I totally agree with Dave, is that healthcare did go down a lot, including its
Mm-hmm.
emphasis on the experience that people have. And I've long said that the reason I work so much in healthcare is that research shows, and it does, that the better the patient experience, the better the outcomes. Right. And so
Right.
outcomes are the key thing. And that focus on outcomes that hopefully increasingly happens is perfectly in tune with the transformation economy, to recognize that healthcare is not a service. It uses experiences, but it's really all about transformation. That everybody that goes through there is looking, I'll say generically, to go from sick to well, right? But there's so many different aspirations within there. And the better that patient experience, then the better the outcomes. And there are healthcare systems that are starting to charge for outcome-based pricing. Geisinger Health System, you get a knee replacement and it doesn't work, you don't have to pay, right? And they'll make it better. So, and you see that with medical device manufacturers and others that are moving in that direction. And then also, and this relates to exactly what you said earlier, Arancis, about your particular experience with Sloan Kettering, was you said they met my patient needs.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say, no, they went beyond your patient needs. They met your human needs.
Yes. Well said.
Right. And that
Yeah.
focus on
Yeah,
the
that's it.
individual
I
living,
mean,
breathing human.
they should be the same thing, but yes.
Right. Right. But they're not. Well, so often doctors, nurses, others, they look at you as a collection of symptoms.
Mm-hmm.
They don't look at you as a whole person. And that's a big shift that has been coming, but still needs to continue on. Right. And, the essence of experience strategy, I think, is to look at your customer, right, your patient at this time, as a whole person, and do what's right for them, including purely giving comfort while an uncomfortable procedure is going on.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think the industry as a whole. You think about places like Mayo Clinic and Cleveland Clinic and so forth. They were early adopters of design thinking. They they wrote lots of case studies in the 2000s and the 2010s about how to treat your customers. We've in the collaboratives that we run, we've had lots of healthcare systems. We've had pharmaceutical companies. We've had all kinds of. They are very concerned about the patient, but the business model didn't really fit. It's been really,
Mm-hmm.
really hard. You've got these capital expenses that are so big, enormous. You've got insurance that's paying in a very opaque way. And there's perfectly good reasons why these things need to be separate. We need to have distinctions between them. But the net effect is there was a lot of pressure on on the hospital business models to succeed. So they got bigger and bigger. And of course, it's if you're going to scale up in terms of the size of the system, you better be careful, because it's really hard to keep that individualized experience the bigger you get. It doesn't really matter which category you're in. That's always the case, but particularly so in healthcare. Then you have something like a pandemic, and you just got to survive at that
Yeah.
point. That's all you can do. And this actually ties to something else that I've noticed. I've noticed that in all my interactions with frontline people, whether they're in stores or at hospitals, I am so much more forgiving
Mm.
of what they're trying to do than I was before 2020.
I'm laughing
Um,
because I spent too much time reading the news recently, and I got stuck on that story about the girl in Puerto Rico or Brazil. Where was it? And she had gone zip lining, and they were or bungee jumping, and the three guys, were supposed to launch her off the cliff with the bungee cord attached, but instead they just launched her off the cliff. And of course, she fell to her death, and it was horrible.
I did see that.
It was
Yeah.
horrible.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, and I mean, I bring this up now because I think that's part of the empathy we saw was we were like, oh, these people are really busy. And for me as a patient, I've decided to take, and as a consumer in general, I've decided to take it as a reminder to not just hand over control to
Yep.
others in any situation, because these people are overworked and they are doing things routinely over and over and over again. And so, like, when I went in for my last procedure, I brought that story up and I was like, so are we ready to pay attention, friends?
Okay, fair enough. That's an extreme example on one end of the scale. Yeah, but we've gone through these different periods where we like train the employee to say the right thing, to show empathy, and honestly, I'm at a point now where, like, if somebody's being real with me, I,
hmm
I like that more
hmm
than I do them saying the right thing.
Well, and
So,
I think too, you bring up a really important point with AI that I
mhm,
think is really relevant for anyone in retail and banking and really any category. That it is about how do we enable these providers who are doing incredibly routine, repeated behaviors in their work life every day to offload some of the memory
mhm,
so that their energy and attention can focus on the relationship and the
mhm.
compassion and the empathy and the listening, right? And so, I think your healthcare example is perfect for that, isn't it? Because it's like, at least in healthcare now, they ask you literally at every handoff who you are to avoid those kind of just like, oops, we operated on the wrong
Yep.
leg.
And which part of
Um,
the body are we working on
wh-
today, right? It's the right,
over and
left,
over and
right,
over,
right.
because it was a real risk. It was really happening. But that also frees them up to do other things because they're not stressing out about, like, did I go through those things? So it is a blend, I think, in most instances of let's use AI, let's use operations to set them up for success so that they can put their human energy into being human.
Yeah. Well, I think it's even going to go further. I mean, the more time that I spend working with AI, and I spend a lot of time working with AI, and every single prompt, oh, thank you. That's the most amazing thing you've ever said.
I
Like
know it's
over and
ridiculous.
over
Are
and
you getting
over.
smarter, Dave, or is it
I,
just
I,
getting
I doubt
nicer?
it,
Yeah.
but
They,
the
they
result.
should they should rename the AIs Eddie Haskell.
Yeah, right. Right. I don't know, a lot of people aren't going to know
No,
that
I know, but
reference, Joe,
look
but
ask AI who Eddie Haskell is, and then ask him why do you sound like Eddie Haskell?
right. But what's going to happen is that if you get that same type of repetition from employees,
It's gonna be
it's going to
meaningless,
sound, it's not going to
inauthentic.
sound pleasant. It's going to sound inauthentic.
Yep.
And so I think that I'm perfectly willing, and I think a lot of consumers are perfectly willing for people to just talk to you
Mhm.
and tell, not be on their best. I mean, yes, they got to be on good behavior, but they don't have to be perfect.
Mm-hmm.
and just show up. When we started working with Wachovia way back when, before they were bought by Wells Fargo, when you walked into a bank, the first thing that you heard was from everybody, "Welcome to Wachovia." Like everybody would had to greet every single person that came in. That was like cutting edge at
Wow.
that point. And they worked really hard to train around that. Man, that would freak me out today. I mean, just not be what I would want from a human interaction.
Welcome to Wachovia.
Right. You know, it just would not be what I would want from an interaction. So I think we want something different because of the journey that we've been on with all categories, but particularly with healthcare.
Yeah.
And I think we want real people.
Yeah. And I think, we've talked about this so much about using data in ways that feels meaningful. And we've often used the example of if you're using data that a person hasn't explicitly given you, it's going to feel creepy. If you're using data in a way that feels like you've been spying on someone, it's going to feel creepy. So if you're to walk into Wachovia and before you've said anything, somebody's like, "Hey, Dave, welcome to Wachovia." Like, if you don't know them, that's weird. And yet, do they have that data available to them? Sure.
Sure. They probably do.
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, you remind me, Dave, that when COVID did hit, right, I wrote a post on what we should be doing. And I don't remember all the details of the post now, but I remember my conclusion. It was 2 words: be human.
Mm.
Yes.
And what you said is a reminder that not just the company, but customers, right? You as well.
Yeah,
You're being human with them, right? I don't want the rote
exactly.
empathy. I want them to be authentic. I want them to be human. I'll be human back. And I think
Yeah.
that's a great thing in the age where everything is becoming so digitally infused, where AI is going to take over so many aspects of interactions, that a very simple experience strategy have as one of your pillars: be human.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. I mean, it is a balance, right? Like, I don't know, maybe that lady's job all day, every day is patting people's hands and backs. Maybe really that's what she does I have no idea. But we do set sort of different expectations in a moment that's really unique to us. I'm not getting that kind of procedure every day. So whatever it is, it's going to feel unique and it'll feel like an N of 1 to me. But if it were the kind of thing where you have to go in over and over again, that's where I think we start to notice those root responses.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's a really good point. Well, kudos to them for
It's cool.
doing what they did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was cool. But yeah, I think this whole human thing is right. And as both as patients and providers, it's a good reminder.
It's an interesting time period because we have been talking about humans and empathy since the early aughts.
Yeah.
Everybody has, design thinking has, experience has, everything. Everyone has been talking about it. And yet some of the tools that were applied in the early 2000s, like persona building, like journey mapping, that were designed to make experiences more human, no longer fit the bill. Um, they 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 had a purpose, but we need something more than what we need. Better training. We need different tools. That's one of the things that I'm thinking about the most right now, and writing about and trying to address. It's not about design thinking anymore. It's about intelligent experiences, and we need to figure out what the human interface is for that.
So you're saying, Dave, that on top of digital context, we need to add human context.
Are you giving away
I'm,
the title of my next book,
I'm,
Joe?
I'm just
All right,
asking questions.
You heard it here first, folks. This is why you should
you
never,
heard it here first.
should never
Joe
miss an
just gave away the
episode.
title. I claim that title. Human context is my title for my book. Nobody else gets it.
Trademark right here. The transcript for this episode will be redacted. Guys, so good seeing you again. For those of you out there listening, thank you for being with us on this journey. As always, we love to hear from you. So if there's something you're curious about experience strategy, if you're reading Joe's book and you're like, I wish I could hear Joe's take on this, or you're reading Dave's Substack and you're like, what do you think Dave thinks is going to happen next? Or if you're reading my Substack and you're like, why do humans do this? Then reach out to us over at the experiencestrategypodcast.com on Substack, or connect with any of us via Substack. Fun fact, if you want to talk to the creators you like on Substack, just reply to their emails. Exactly. Literally. That's the easiest way to reach anyone you like on Substack. And it's easy to forget how simple that is. So reach out, send a comment, start a conversation. We look forward to talking to you soon.